Let's bring back a little something that'll whittle away at the brittle cynicism that's keeping us crippled inside on the daily and the way we all see each other, sister, brother, father, and mother. This is The Loop. Charles Kinsey, an unarmed African-American caregiver looking after an autistic adult male patient, was shot and injured Wednesday afternoon by North Miami police officers. The situation was filmed, and in the footage you can see that he was on the ground with his hands raised above his head and was telling officers repeatedly not to fire, that he and the patient were unarmed, and that the patient was holding a toy truck, not a weapon. According to Kinsey, he was trying to coax the patient back inside of his group home when the police officers arrived on the scene, responding to a 911 call that a man with a gun was threatening suicide. In a statement from the North Miami police, they said, arriving officers attempted to negotiate with two men on the scene, one of whom was later identified as suffering from autism. At some point during the on-scene negotiation, one of the responding officers discharged his weapon, striking the employee. At this point, according to Kinsey, after he was shot, the officers placed him in handcuffs. He then claims that when he asked the officer why he shot him, the officer simply said, "I don't know." Thankfully, Kinsey is alive and recovering, and the patient is unharmed. This past weekend, members of the Turkish military attempted to overthrow Turkey's government, but ultimately failed. The coup was put down in about 10 to 12 hours. According to the Washington Post, approximately 260 Turkish citizens were killed, and some 1,400 were wounded in the violence. There was also an attempt on the life of the nation's president, Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Members of parliament rushed to the Turkish Grand National Assembly in the early hours of Saturday morning, leading to 3 bombs hitting the parliament building, injuring 14 security guards. The Turkish loyalists began arresting soldiers involved in the coup around 2 a.m. By 3 a.m., legislators had retreated to a shelter, and shortly after that, President Erdogan appeared at an Istanbul airport to throngs of supporters. The Turkish government has said that the coup was led by US-based cleric Fethullah Gulen, who operates a network of schools in Turkey, a claim which Gulen has denied. Some 700 soldiers surrendered and were arrested later that morning, and by the afternoon, the government had fired 2,745 judges and judicial officials believed to have ties to Gulen. Wednesday, Erdogan declared a 3-month-long state of emergency. He's closed some 600 schools and fired 22,000 education ministry workers while revoking the licenses of 21,000 teachers, claiming that Gulen is infiltrating the education system to turn the country against him. So now Turkey is a nation without judges or teachers. Does that sound scary to anyone else? The Republican National Convention has been in full swing this week in Cleveland, Ohio, sparking several headlines, and I'm not just talking about the so-called Speechgate, which is barely a story. It's less of a story than almost anything I've ever heard of. I mean, who cares about whether or not Melania Trump plagiarized portions of a speech? She's not running for president, and neither is her speechwriter. The important things are these. Donald Trump officially claimed the nomination for president, and his official vice presidential pick, Indiana Governor Mike Pence, was officially revealed to the world. Now, the most troubling news piece that I've seen cited repeatedly this week is a New York Times Magazine article that claims that, according to a senior advisor of Ohio governor and former Republican primary rival John Kasich, Donald Trump Jr. approached the governor with the offer of a lifetime. Join the ticket and become the most powerful vice president in history, with complete oversight of both domestic and foreign policy, which are both the president's job. In fact, you could boil down a president's job to exactly those two things. At this point in the conversation, the unnamed advisor asked what Donald Trump's responsibilities would be as president. Trump Jr. replied, "Making America great again." This, of course, sparked many articles alleging that Donald Trump doesn't actually want or intend to do the job of president, and that Mike Pence agreed to this thoroughly unorthodox offer. However, all of this speculation is based on a conversation between a Kasich staffer who hasn't given their name and Donald Trump Jr., who vehemently denies that the conversation took place. Could this all be true? Potentially, even maybe probably, but we simply don't know for sure, and it's irresponsible to assume. Now, if the source were to come forward and be public, that would be one thing, but as of right now, it's just a rumor. Meanwhile, Hillary Clinton's social media team has officially decided, it seems, that there's no point in telling people why Hillary Clinton is a good candidate for president, and is instead firing away at Trump with both barrels, which I'll say off the top, I think that's kind of a dumb idea. Donald Trump's candidacy is living proof that all press is good press, and even if you present publicly available factual information about the candidate that is negative, it won't sway people who have already decided to vote for him. The same thing goes for Hillary's own email scandal. There are people who simply don't and will never care about it. So what did the team do? First, they held a Facebook live stream where members of their social media team tried to read aloud every single lawsuit Donald Trump has ever been involved in, some 50 5,500 lawsuits in total, according to the team. Over the course of 4 hours, they got through just 3,150 and attracted over 600,000 views. It's an interesting idea and worth looking at, though it came off more amateurish than damning. I encourage you to watch it yourself. The other thing they launched this week is their Trump Yourself app, which allows Facebook users to add Trump cutouts and offensive things that Trump has said during the campaign as overlays to their profile pictures. I highly recommend that you check that out for yourself, but to me, the whole thing seems silly and ultimately kind of tone deaf. There are overlays with cutouts of Trump's head all over them. The fonts are designed to appeal to a millennial audience, and rather than offer any positive messages about why anyone should vote for Hillary Clinton, it gives Donald Trump even more awareness on social media. It turns him into a meme, and it could easily be used by Trump supporters to simply promote the outspoken candidate that they already believe in. It just seems like an absolute misstep for me. But now I want to know what you think. How do you feel about the Trump Yourself app? Do you think that Donald Trump actually is willing to give away most of presidential power to his VP? What do you think about what happened in Turkey? And how do you feel about the tragic shooting of Charles Kinsey? Let me know down in the comments below. Like this video, and until next time, you're in the loop. Thanks for watching.